what's up? It's Sifu Kuttel, and I have a massive spear today. This is the Swallowtail Cavalry Spear by LK Chen, and it is based on an antique from all the way back in the Han Dynasty. So this is a one-to-one reproduction of Han Dynasty technology. Now, the name Swallowtail actually comes from the shape of the socket, how it has this ridge right here, so that when you mount the spear, it's not going to twist or turn around. It will actually hold in solid when piercing into targets. Now, I want to test out a couple of things with this spear today, but I also have a very special mounting for this, and it's actually in the traditional style. So this would have been carried by cavalry, so it wouldn't be the longest spear in your arsenal. The pole mounting wouldn't be on anything over 2 meters, which I have a 2-meter pole here and a base cap, and this is actually a composite bamboo pole. And what that means is they take the bamboo and then they split it apart into really thin strands, and then they wrap it around another piece of wood. So they have a regular wood core, they have the bamboo around it, and then they wrap that with twine, and then they cover that with a lacquered type cement almost. And they'll do this layer by layer by layer to make a very flexible and robust shaft or pole for the spear. Now, this does add quite a bit of weight to it, so we are going to test it out for its ability to plunge, its ability to pierce, and its accuracy. And I'm very, very interested in the last two tests because when it comes down to the weight, it's going to affect the control of the spear itself. And when we have such a long blade, when it comes to piercing, we have a chance of going through our target. So let's start with the plunge test. For the plunge test, I have remounted this spearhead onto one of the poles that I use for the other spears. This is a beech wood pole. It is much lighter than the composite pole, but this will give us a more consistent and accurate read as far as in comparison to some of the other spearheads. And then one last thing to note is this spearhead is sharpened. Unlike the other spearheads, this one has an edge. So this might have more of pierceability. It may be able to plunge further than some of the other spearheads just based on that. So let's go check it out. So actually I just ran into a problem. This pole is preventing the spear from being held up at 20 centimeters, which is my usual test distance. So even with the lighter pole, we're looking still at about 12 centimeters of drop, which is 8 centimeters less than I normally do, so almost half as much. But we're still gonna see how well this does pierce. Again, it does have a sharpened blade, so I do think this will affect it. So let's take a look. All right, so it didn't pierce as much as I thought it would, and that's mostly because we didn't have a big drop for this spear to go. However, it appears that it pierced close to 5 centimeters, which in comparison to some of the other spears, that's right on par. So we actually have, 5 centimeters of plunge for this spear. When you look at it, you have a 30 centimeter blade, so it's 1/6 of the distance. But again, it was about half the distance for it to drop and not that much weight behind it. So I am really interested to see how this is going to go in the next test where we have our freestanding target, and we're going to test how much this can pierce with some manpower behind it. So now I've returned the spearhead to the large composite pole, and I'm going to set a light target up to be a freestanding target. So what this means is there is no resistance against it. On the battlefield, you would be encountering a human body that has a certain amount of weight, and if they're wearing armor, that's added weight on top of it. So once it makes contact, there's going to be resistance against it, which allows the spear to plunge further. And with a freestanding target, it's going to take a lot of that power and that momentum and go with it. So we're going to see how far we can pierce into the light target with just as it's freestanding. So I'm going to set that up, and then I'm going to use just a classic Chinese martial arts thrusting technique. with this long, long spear. Again, this is a really solid pierce. We're looking at about 10 centimeters. So I have 20 centimeters of blade left. This pierced through, and I want to say about 10 centimeters exactly of piercing with this. And again, that's with a free target. So the further this goes in, the more it's going to push the target back. So if this thing was a fixed target, if it had resistance, no doubt we'd be piercing all the way through. I think this is super impressive. For our final test, we are going to be looking at the handling of the spear in terms of accuracy and, more importantly, consistency. So I'm going to be aiming at this little wooden skewer, and this is incredibly difficult as it is. But I'm not so much worried about how many times I can hit this. More so, we're going to be looking at the consistency of my technique as far as the distance and proximity to this. So if I remain within a smaller distance, this can actually be quite a good spear for handling and has decent accuracy. Now, the couple of factors that I'm really going to be looking at with this particular spear is the fact that it is a heavier spear with the composite pole. This adds an extra amount of weight. With the longer spearhead, that's going to be more weight forward. So even with the base cap counterbalancing this, there's a chance that it still may affect it, and I may have more dipping with the spear than anything else. And if that bamboo is going to be flexible, there may be a chance of me batting at the target, but not actually hitting it. So we'll see. We'll check it out. Okay, so wardrobe malfunction aside, this handled way better than I was expecting. I was really planning on this thing to drop a lot or to have some bouncing and just not be very accurate or consistent because of the weight, especially with the longer spearhead. I figured that was going to be a lot of forward pull, but it was really the opposite. I think this all comes down to the weight of the composite pole and the base cap. So it didn't really affect the mass distribution because overall it is a little bit heavier than, say, these other spears behind me. But the handling was super, super consistent. I not only hit the skewer a couple of times, but when I deviated and I missed, it was all within the same area. So really surprising results on this one, and really positive, in a positive way too. This has excellent plunge test, even with the decrease of distance. It has an excellent pierce. It pierced almost all the way through the target, and that was a freestanding target, not a fixed target. And then some excellent handling and accuracy. It was very consistent. So I'm very impressed with this spear. This is the Cavalry spear, the Han Dynasty swallowtail version. So 2,000-year-old technology, and it still fares really, really well. And I'd be really impressed to see, or I'd be really excited to see what this could do against a fixed target, to see how far we could get to this thing to plunge in and pierce in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I will see you in the next one.